Welcome to Dr. Grimmy's Old Time Medicine Show and Conversation Extravaganza. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, and any others. If you have something that ails you, a problem, a challenge, a struggle, we have the cure. Are you bored, disdainful, thoughtful, maudlin, frustrated, or constipated? We have the cure that you have been waiting for. Myself, world-famous Dr. Grimmy, and my faithful and erstwhile assistant, Jake the Snake Garn, Cosmic Serpent, master of hidden wisdom, and owner of copious amounts of inner light. We will teach you, you will learn, and you will be happy. And so, my fine ladies and gentlemen, and others, please step right up. All you have to do is listen. We will sell you the right snake oil. It will cure what ails you, and if nothing ails you, it'll cure that too. We will teach you the secrets of the ages and the esotericness of esoteric. So enter with us now into the inner circle of sacred wisdom. Here you will find what you're looking for.
Welcome to Dr. Grimmy's Old Time Medicine Show and Conversation Extravaganza. We're going to sell you some snake oil today. We're going to talk about UFOs or UFOs, depending on your point of view. I'm a tad skeptical, but I want to believe, as the poster says. So, do you want to believe too? Maybe you can convince me. Give me a call, 801-254-1640, live radio, so you get a chance to give your opinion on this very interesting topic. The reason I wanted to talk about UFOs tonight, is we recently had an event in the sky that was automatically considered a UFO. It was a very fascinating video of what looked like, by all accounts, an unidentified flying object, which essentially is what the term UFO means. It's unidentified, it's flying, and it is an object. So there I am looking at this video, and I'm amazed. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, what in the heck is this thing flying through the air? Because it was clear from the video that the person filming was on the ground. You could see houses, the roofs of houses just in the frame. And so obviously whatever's going on was in the sky. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, what in the heck? Because I want to believe. I couldn't quite bring myself to acknowledge that perhaps this was a UFO. Well, it turns out that it wasn't a UFO for long. Initially, for most of the people who saw it, it was an unidentified flying object, and it was pretty spectacular. However, it was very quickly identified. It was the SpaceX launch, and it had the reason it was so visible is that it was just the right altitude that the sunlight would shine on it, even though the sun was currently below the horizon. So it stood out very brightly in the dark sky. And now that when they said, oh, it's a rocket, I was like, oh, okay, I can look at this thing and understand that it looks like a rocket. But then again, the explanation for it came rather quickly. So perhaps there are some other explanations. There's some interesting phenomena going on in that video that I don't quite know enough about atmospheric physics or rockets in general to answer, but it is a fascinating video. You can just SpaceX launch and pull it up on YouTube and take a look. And tell me what you think. Call me, tell me what you think, see if it's if you would identify it as a UFO, or if you would just look at it and say, that's a rocket. I don't think I would have done it. I don't have a lot of experience looking at rockets. So other than the fancy ones that you see that they send to the moon, I've seen a few of those, seen videos of those. They use them all the time. And I always watch the space shuttle launches because I'm a believer that space is the next frontier. So when I'm looking at this, what they call a rocket, how come it never happened before? How come we never saw this phenomenon occur previously? What is unique about this particular launch that made it look as if the UFOs were coming? I don't know if anyone has saw the movie, Riddick. They have an invasion scene where the alien spaceships enter the atmosphere of the planet in a very fascinating way. They kind of show some of this, in the special effects of the movie. What's the one where the aliens invade and they blow up the White House? They show those ships coming through the atmosphere. So the creative intelligence of the world, of Hollywood anyway, has been recognizing that there are phenomena that happen in the sky that look pretty cool. And so I think this SpaceX launch, it brings to mind that there are interesting things in the sky to look at, and two, that if we can identify them, what are they? Does that mean they're alien? Does it mean that this is a classified military project, or in these days, a classified commercial project? Because now we have several companies who are stepping into the space race, who are trying to take advantage of this new frontier. As always, in America, most of our advances are made under the influence of profit and the ability to make some money. And so there are lots of people who are seeing the opportunity to make money out of space and the travel in space. And maybe someday we'll get to travel into the atmosphere. There was a company that is planning on launching a aircraft that can make low Earth orbit and then come back. So you can go up to at least pretty close to space and come back down. I don't know how much they would charge for that, but I'm guessing I'm not going anytime soon, and not unless we start a fundraiser or something. It would be interesting to see the distance between the United States and Europe. A suborbital vehicle could make that trip in 25, 35 minutes, which that's pretty significant time factor. Now I think it takes about 8 hours to go from New York to Paris by aircraft. They used to have the Concorde that would fly you there in about 3 hours, but they don't have that. I wonder if it's economical to travel between Europe and the United States or not. I don't know. If you really need to be nowadays, I don't need to go to Europe to talk to a business partner. I can just pull him up on Skype. And so there's no real need to get on a Concorde or some similar aircraft. I suppose in the event that you wanted to tell secrets, that might make sense, but nowadays there's commercial encryption that's equally as valid and as useful as anything the government is putting out. So, yeah, I think we shall see. However, there's another little tidbit in the news that came out that is rather telling about this whole idea of unidentified flying objects and their impact on our day-to-day world. It came out that the United States military, the Pentagon particularly, had a project that, what was the name of it? I should have wrote it down. It was a project to identify instances of aircraft or technology that was more advanced than we had in our inventory, or we have in our inventory, and to identify and try to come up with intelligence on those kinds of behaviors. And that seems to be, when you look back at the several projects that the government has supported in observing UFOs, it goes all the way back to the early 1940s. 1948 and 49, there was a project that was believed to have started by General MacArthur to observe and find advanced technology whether it was the Japanese or some other purpose or source. One of the interesting tidbits of history from that time is that bomber pilots consistently told stories of what they called Foo Fighters, which apparently were discs of light that moved in what they believed to be an intelligent manner in and around the aircraft, the bombers that were flying on missions primarily in Germany. That this was a phenomenon that was familiar to many of the crews. So perhaps this concept, this event of Foo Fighter would have been, we need to know what this is and if it is a threat. So I believe that the Air Force started this project with that in mind. You know, for some reason, they believed that they needed to have another project to identify or observe, because Air Force pilots, Navy pilots were saying that we're seeing aircraft, we're seeing objects flying, unidentified flying objects that are outside of our envelope, outside of the mechanical envelope of our aircraft, and we are unable to, keep up with them or identify them or get any information about them with our traditional aircraft or intercept techniques. So this project collected a lot of different, and they haven't released a lot of what they've done, but there was a video put out by a Navy pilot back in the 2000s, early 2000s, who followed an unidentified flying object, and that the pilot stated that he absolutely believed that that whatever this was, it was certainly unidentified, but he believed that it was a technology beyond what we currently have. Now that's the kind of the rub. There's this idea of unidentified flying objects, things that we see in the sky that we don't know what they are. And it turns out when you start digging through the incidents that people report, that the investigators have been able to narrow down some of the things that people are seeing in the sky. In other words, they're able to identify the flying objects, the IFOs, I guess you could call them, identified flying objects. And I guess once they're identified, they're not UFOs, they're now IFOs. And one of the most common things that people see that they identify as an alien aircraft or an unidentified flying object, wait for it, is the planet Venus, which is only in the night sky for a period of time. We're going to come up on the break here in just a minute or so, and we'll go and we'll talk more about some of the things that people see that are identified as unidentified flying objects, but they turn out to be identified as something that's either not flying, even though it's in the sky. And there's some reasons for that. But then we'll talk about a little bit about some of the other things that people can see in the sky that don't get identified. And gosh, people have been seeing things that they can't identify in the sky way back. We have early Greek, and I'll pull up a list of some of this stuff. We'll talk about some of them, about what can be seen in the sky. So if you have had any experiences of observing something unidentified in the sky, let's talk about it. Let's see if we can come up with perhaps an identification, or at least an idea. Or you can add to the mythos of unidentified flying objects and where they come from and what they are, which is really what we want to know, because we don't like secrets as people. So, after the break, we will pick up. Give us a call, 801-254-1640.
When the fake news stations are slick as ice this winter, cut through with K-Talk Media, your favorite local talk station.
In this time of caring and giving, K-Talk Media wants your help to provide Christmas trees for those in need. Brighten a family's holiday by going to ktalkmedia.com and click on Donate or call 801-253-4883. Every $35 donation allows K-Talk to provide a $70 tree to a family in need. If you would prefer to gift the tree to someone you know that has a need, we can provide you with a voucher when you donate, and you can gift the tree directly. Nothing says Christmas like a Christmas tree. Visit ktalkmedia.com or call 801-253-4883. That's 801-253-4883. Donate a tree and brighten someone's holiday.
Everyone builds SUVs, but when you're ready to step up to the ultimate off-road machines available, there's only one place to go. Plan B Supply in Ogden builds customized Humvees and military trucks ready for anything you can throw at them. Not only do they look mean and have the ultimate upgrades available, but they're built with a purpose, for people with a purpose. Everyone's SUVs are decent when the roads are slick, but Plan B's SUVs are for when you want to make your own road, through tough terrain, in a tornado, wearing a tuxedo, with a grizzly bear riding shotgun, holding a shotgun, and waving an American flag. Visit our facility at 194 West 33rd Street in Ogden, Utah, or visit our website at planbsupply.com. You can call Plan B Supply at 801-675-4321. That's 801-675-4321. Make Doomsday sweet and make your friends' jaws drop. Drive a real SUV from Plan B Supply.
Hi, this is Matt with M&T Christmas Trees, 9000 South State Street, Sandy, Utah. We've been in business down here since 1984. We look forward to showing you off our really pretty trees, every size, every color, and every shape. And when I say color, I'm talking, you want a purple tree, a blue tree, you want a Smurf blue tree? No problem. Wooden reindeer, we have snowman to take home. Come on down, check it out. The reindeer will be landing November 22nd. You don't want to miss out with your family. The fire's going, we'll leave the light on for you. So come on down, check it out. You'll have fun, and you'll have to even find the hot tub somewhere out there in the forest.
Oh boy, scary music. I guess for some people, UFOs would be scary. We'll talk a little bit about some of the scary things that UFOs bring to mind or people have claimed about UFOs. But right now I want to talk about some of the history of the sightings of UFOs, unidentified flying objects, things in the sky that we don't know what they are. As early as 1440 BC, there is a papyrus called the Tolly Papyrus, and this is an interesting document in that it was referenced by several early UFO researchers, Eric Van Dyken and his Chariot of the Gods. It basically gives a description of fiery discs in the sky. Now, one of the challenges is that there's some question about the authenticity or the dating of this papyrus. So one has to take everything with a little bit of a grain of salt. It sounds wonderful, but maybe we ought to just, like fake news. We don't want to assume everything that we see or hear is true. We should have a skeptical mind because we might end up buying those magical beans if we're not careful. In 214 BC, Livy records what he calls portents. It seems an appearance of ships had shone forth from the sky. It's in the title's in Latin. So the Ab Urbe Condita Libre, the book of something. That was in 214 BCE, before the Christian era. Again, another sighting of flame-like ships in the sky. The witnesses stated that they managed to follow this torch in the sky back home. They were unable. They were able to not be lost. So there's some credibility issues just by the purpose of the event. 66 before Christian, another Roman, Pliny the Elder, a spark that fell to earth, becoming as large as the moon before returning to the sky, which is, interesting. Perhaps an explanation. We only have, with these really ancient stuff, all we have is, we can't go back and talk to the witnesses. In AD 70, the destruction of Jerusalem, the year of the destruction of Jerusalem, during the siege of Jerusalem, a bright light appeared over the temple at Jerusalem, and there appeared in the air over the whole country chariots and armed troops coursing through the clouds, and surrounding the cities. This comes from Josephus in his book, The Jewish War. In many cases, in battles, that is not uncommon. A thing to see is a ghost-like battle in the sky going on. There are lots of witness descriptions of that happening during major battles. In the 16th and 17th century, I'm skipping over some of this stuff. I'm just looking for the interesting ones. I'm sourcing this from Wikipedia, so bear with me. A celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg. Let's see, it was interpreted by some UFO authors as an aerial battle between extraterrestrial aircraft, and that was the authors of The Impossible, Paranormal, and the Sacred, University of Chicago Press. Jeffrey Kripal, Kripal, in 2011 made that claim. 19th century, we start getting closer, 1801. A fiery object is said to have appeared suddenly over the Humber, which is a river, an immense moon-like globe with a black bar across the center of its face. It bathed Hull and the Humber in a mysterious blue light. Then it split into seven smaller fireballs and vanished. Could be a bolide, some variation. If you've seen the videos on YouTube of the Russian meteor, you can just look that up. You can see what a bolide looks like. It's a meteorite that's breaking up into smaller pieces. The sonic boom from some of those pieces caused a lot of physical damage. So if you're not familiar with phenomenon in the sky and you weren't able to identify, you could perhaps presume that something like that would be a alien event. But I'm more interested in coming to our time. In the 1940s, we had the Foo Fighters, the bombers who saw these colorful balls of light and sometimes photographed worldwide by the bomber crews of World War II. First responders, there was what they call a Cape Girardeau. I apologize for residents of Missouri. First responders and a Baptist minister allegedly viewed craft spacecraft in alien bodies. That may or may not have been a hoax or not. There's a couple of different takes on that story. The very famous Battle of Los Angeles, where unidentified aerial objects trigger the firing of thousands of anti-aircraft rounds, called the Battle of Los Angeles. Hard to say what would have caused a gunner to lose, to start firing. Of course, having been a soldier, it doesn't take much to scare you into pulling the trigger. Something called the ghost rockets, mostly in Scandinavia, reported over Scandinavia. They made the Swedish defense staff become concerned. That's what it says. The Swiss are so, very staid, very dignified. So if they are concerned, it was probably pretty serious, something that would make us lose our minds. The Murray Island incident. I've heard of this one. Puget Sound near Murray Island, Washington. Harold Dahl reported his dog was killed and his son was injured by debris in an encounter with 4 to 6 flying donut-shaped objects. He claimed that a witness was subsequently threatened by the traditional UFO followers, the Men in Black. We come to the granddaddy of them all only because this is probably what is believed to be the event, the sighting that brought ufology, if you will, into the forefront of the public mind, and that was the Kenneth Arnold UFO sighting. He is the one who stated flying saucers, that what he was seeing appeared to be flying saucers. So that's kind of where that term comes from. And many witness statements indicate that what they see is saucer-shaped. Then we have another granddaddy, I guess grandmama, the Roswell UFO crash, and I could devote a whole show to the Roswell crash. I am not a believer. I'm sorry. I think there's enough evidence to indicate that this was a thing that got taken out of context, and it just hasn't been, no matter how many facts are beaten into it, it simply will not die. If you disagree, give me a call. I know there's somebody out there who just almost wrecked their car when I said that, but so give me a call. There was a study initiated by the Department of Defense over the green fireballs. The objects were reported over several United States military bases, and an official investigation was started. And the interesting part about this is one of the earliest military, I don't know what you would call it, the military-supported research on the idea of these unidentified flying objects. Let me see. Well, I can't find the name of it. There's several studies. There was one called Project Twinkles, I think, was the name of the project that studied the particular effect of these green fireballs across the sky that were in the Project Twinkle, and then another project called Project Sign. Project Sign began in 1948. It went on till probably just 1948, 49. That ended, and a project called Project Grudge was started. Project Grudge was discounted by the Condon report because of apparently the command of the Air Force didn't appreciate the idea of having to believe in unidentified flying objects being of alien origin. And so they started this Project Grudge, aptly titled, to essentially poo-poo and discount the idea. But that failed when a couple of very famous or well-respected, maybe not famous, well-respected individuals argued against the Grudge report being a useful basis to determine Air Force policy. And Project Blue Book came out of that discussion. We've seen the series. There was a movie series, a TV series about it. That ended when they believed that the UFO phenomenon was not a threat, not a specific military threat to the United States. Some earlier investigation, there was something in the 40s called the Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit, but nobody is acknowledging that it even exists or it even happened. It was made claim by a UFO researcher, so we don't know exactly. The RAND corporations did a report, the Brookings report, sanctioned by NASA. And then we have what we have today, which came out about the same week as this project or SpaceX launch that was determined to be not a UFO, but everybody thought it was initially, is the secret Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. That's the name of the project that I couldn't come up with. Where the Air Force, the Pentagon, they collected and still collect these information on these unidentified flying objects. And basically, I think, try to find out if these are foreign governments or foreign entities who are doing research on and have technology that may be outside of our envelope, which would be something I think that I would like to know that the Pentagon is doing that sort of thing. I don't think they were looking for aliens, but I'm certain they were trying to figure out if there is flying objects and we can't identify them, we need to know if that technology is perhaps a threat to the United States' technological, where we are, technologically speaking. So the government's done a lot of research on this UFO phenomenon. There's lots of civilian people out there. There's an organization called MUFON, a Mutual UFO Network. You can look them up on the internet. They're all over the place. Most states have a person who's the MUFON representative, and they have individuals who go out and investigate UFO reports and collect the data and put it out in their literature on what's going on in the UFO world, the UFO community, for sightings and that sort of thing. That started early in the 40s and 50s. You had an organization called NICAP, which existed, and they were a competitor of MUFON. There's some interesting history on how each organization would try to create hoaxes to discredit the other organization, which is a fascinating read. I can't remember the name of the book, but I'm certain you can pull it up. It's a very, they really were competing to try to get noticed and get their take on what was going on to be considered the most valid. And what better way to do that than to find that your competitor couldn't tell the difference between a hoax and an actual event. And then you could spring it on them later, and they'd feel silly. So that was a kind of some signal to noise clutter in the UFO community early on. Some of the stuff that you've probably heard about in the news, the Travis Walton abduction case was made into a movie, Fire in the Sky. He tells the tale of him being abducted by aliens, held for a few days, and released. His friends were involved a little bit. Interesting story. I've met Mr. Walton briefly, and he gives me I had no feeling that he was giving me any reason to disbelieve him. So it would appear to me that he did have an experience, but what is it? What is this experience? And that takes me over to the next thing that I wanted to talk about when we talk about UFOs is there is always this perception that an unidentified flying object is alien, that it is extraterrestrial. And I think that is a misnomer. It's not an accurate reflection on what's going on in the sky. One of the most unreliable ways to gather evidence is by eyewitnesses. This is a truth because you can have an event happen in a room with 10 different witnesses and you'll get 10 different descriptions of what happened and what went on. If you don't have physical evidence that corroborates an eyewitness testimony, then it should be taken with a grain of salt. And one of the challenges that the UFO community faces is that 90% of their data is eyewitness anecdotal information. We're going to talk a little bit about what they come up with that. And stay by and talk to us after the break. It is. I'm just on break. Oh, how you doing, Eagle? Outstanding.
When it's cold outside, warm up with the hottest live local two-way talk.
Hey, now,
K-Talk
like I said, we're
Media,
on break.
1640
I
AM.
want to talk to you. I just didn't want to let you sit for break.
Remember when social media was a pen and paper and a note you passed in class? Do you remember when your telephone came in 2 colors and hung on the wall? Back in those days, erecting a building, garage, or warehouse took months, sometimes a year. Times they have changed, but there is some good news. You can get a beautiful warehouse, garage, or building constructed in just days with tons of natural light and a 20-year guarantee. If you are interested, you need to contact Gabe at Brightspan Building. You can reach Gabe at 801-472-0428. 801-472-0428. That's 801-472-0428. You can also find his contact information on the K-Talk Media advertisers page. Brightspan Building. Beautiful warehouse, garage, or building constructed in just days with a 20-year guarantee. 801-472-0428.
In this time of caring and giving, K-Talk Media wants your help to provide Christmas trees for those in need. Brighten a family's holiday by going to ktalkmedia.com and click on Donate or call 801-253-4883. Every $35 donation allows K-Talk to provide a $70 tree to a family in need. If you would prefer to gift the tree to someone you know that has a need, we can provide you with a voucher when you donate, and you can gift the tree directly. Nothing says Christmas like a Christmas tree. Visit ktalkmedia.com or call 801-253-4883. That's 801-253-4883. Donate a tree and brighten someone's holiday.
When your grandma needs to make it to bingo night so she can school some hipsters through a blizzard in 3 feet of snow, across a river, and over some trees in the woods, with her whole crew in the back, knitting sweaters, red, white, and blue sweaters, jamming to Frank Sinatra and tapping the steering wheel in time to the music, she chooses a vehicle from Plan B. Not just because it's the toughest machine around, but because it's easy to drive in any situation and has her favorite upgrades like that boom and sound system. So step up to the ultimate SUV with Plan B. Visit us at 194 West 33rd Street in Ogden, Utah. Online at planbsupply.com or give us a call at 801-675-4321. That's 801-675-4321. Customized Humvees and military trucks. Plan B. Because what else would the baddest grandma in the world drive?
Since 1962.
Welcome back. Hey, you got to hear some of my conversation with our caller that's coming up, and we're going to get him on the air right now. Hello, caller. How are you?
Well, I'm just fine. How are you this evening?
I'm doing quite well. We're having fun.
You sound like you're having fun. The main thing that I called about was the thing titled the Philadelphia Project. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of that. It was believed to be the Navy's research into creating invisibility or making ships invisible.
You can pull up the stuff better than I can, and that one I do believe in. I just think it's there's been enough research on the validity of the thing that there's something to it. I don't know that we know all the ins and outs, but it's a natural thing that the different government entities don't want to let out to the public everything they know.
Right. Well, and secrecy goes part and parcel with any kind of technology that would give us an advantage over our enemies, or vice versa.
You know, I've got some friends from Germany and who came here during or right after World War II, and stranger things I have never heard. These people are very intelligent, yet they don't believe that their government ever drug them into a misconception of reality.
Well, that's interesting, considering our government probably did the same thing.
Oh, undoubtedly, absolutely undoubtedly. And one of the things that discredits those people themselves is that they're during their adult lifetime, they've been good little servants to and employees of the federal government. So, what the heck? Who's going to blow smoke on their own paycheck?
Right. Yeah, that's true. If you're working in a project, you may know just enough as to why it's supposed to be a secret. And I would like to know if we are contacting with intelligence with intelligence from other planets, because I think the change in our perception as human beings, it would have a positive impact on that. It's one thing, we're white people, we're black people, we're this, we're that, but if there was an alien other, we would become, truly human beings, earthlings.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what brings the biggest question marks up in my mind. I served in Vietnam from 1968 and 1969.
Thank you for your service.
And listen, the best service people can do now, in my opinion, is to refuse to go along with the crap that's coming down the pike as the facts, because I think we're going into a new world order, and we're being manipulated through the press to some degree or another, so that it'll be a much easier transition to those people who are in charge.
Right.
However, like I say, I witnessed personally a program called the Phoenix Program.
Okay.
And that's something, it had nothing to do with extraterrestrial stuff, but
Right.
It's got to do with things that the government was doing and then lied about it. And I know exactly the reason why they lied about it, and it's just to keep things in secret.
My understanding is it was a program by the Special Operations Community in Vietnam to identify Viet Cong leadership in the South and hunt them down and kill them.
Okay, you've got a total, in my opinion, okay, and I was there, and
right.
I didn't ever come to understand it until about 30 years after I come back, but it was an operation that I participated in. I slept with the guys, the CIA people that did it. I wasn't in the CIA. I was a regular Army soldier. At that time, it was in the MAC-V.
Right.
And I watched. We would go out and we would pacify a village and bring the people into a setup where they would have confidence in keeping the anti-American forces at bay, and their leadership would raise up to the top, and then the people in the CIA in this Phoenix program, every Thursday morning about 2 o'clock in the morning, they'd go out and they'd get these leaders of these little hamlets and villages, bring them in, interrogate them, and then just summarily kill them.
Right.
So we were working against our own good interests, in my opinion.
Yeah, the belief that if they're in charge, they must be bad guys.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
Well, that's my 2 cents worth. I enjoy your program, and I'll keep in contact with you.
Oh, I appreciate it. That'll be great. Did you had a name of a book that you were going to give me?
Oh, it's not a book, it's a film. Hang on just a
Oh,
second.
okay. Yep, we were talking about.
I just reviewed the film tonight. It's probably 45 minutes at the very longest, maybe even closer to 30. The Century of American Greatness. No, the century that made America great.
Okay.
Now, listen, if you can't find it to review it, I'll call you periodically, and we can make arrangements to get it sent up to you.
Okay, I appreciate that. That'll be great. I thank you for your service, and I appreciate you're always a good person to talk to.
I honestly think that people in wars are doing a disservice, especially if they're, I know it because I'm on the American side, but especially those people serving in the service on the American side, oftentimes are engaged in projects that they don't know enough about the projects, that those projects are doing a disservice to the traditional American dream.
I would like to believe that we're the good guys.
Well,
and there's some things that the good guys shouldn't do, no matter how effective they may be militarily.
Yeah.
That's my belief on it.
I think you stated my position right.
Yep. There's some things the good guys just don't do because they're the good guys.
Okay. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, Eagle. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Eagle's always a great caller, always has great input. So I wanted to talk about, we talked about unidentified flying objects that people see in the sky, and that the reality is that a lot of the things that people are seeing that they cannot identify are identifiable phenomena. And the Project Blue Book, which was the Air Force's research into UFOs or unidentified flying objects, came out with, their research gave them a sense of what things that people would misidentify as UFOs. So here's some of those things that the observers would claim to be unidentified flying objects. And the most common, surprisingly, was the planet Venus. That it is a very bright object in the sky. It's far enough away that if you're driving in a car or some such, it doesn't change positions, or it would appear to follow you, as some of the claims have been made. Bright stars, meteors that are re-entering. We talked about the video about the Russian meteor that was pretty obvious, but there are other meteors that perhaps don't leave as big a footprint as that one did, that could be mistaken for a high-speed aircraft. Aircraft that are unidentifiable. There was instances where there were classified military flights, particularly with the F-117 program, that individuals would observe this aircraft and not be able to identify it, and it would be reported as a UFO. And the community, the community that was trying to keep this stuff classified did not attempt to debunk any of that information, just based on the fact that it was a very classified program working on the earliest stages of stealth technology. There was a story that I've heard about a gentleman who was a ham radio operator in the early 60s who found a signal that he could not identify, a signal that was X amount of beeps, and I'm not sure how else to describe it, but he was unable to identify it. It was not in a place that you would normally expect a radio signal to be. And so he started going out into the UFO community and saying, listen, I have found this alien signal that I can't identify, and I believe it's extraterrestrial. So the Office of Special Investigations, the Air Force, showed up and explained to him that, okay, it is an alien signal, but we don't understand it, but we don't want to create any panic, so please don't talk about it. And he, being a patriotic American, did not talk about it ever again. It turns out that signal that he had found was the newest form of low-frequency communications between the Navy and its nuclear submarines. And so it wasn't that they didn't want to, they couldn't tell him that, hey, you found this signal to our nuclear submarines. They couched it in a way that by saying it was alien, they fed into his belief system and tapped into his patriotism, and he never spoke of it again. And then after his death, and after things, as technology changes, it was no longer classified, and an OSI person came out and said, yes, we used false information to keep a secret. So that's always a issue, is that in keeping secrets, we don't always get accurate information. We're going to continue to talk about some of these things that people see that are identifiable, but nobody seems to be able to identify them. And we'll come back after the break.
If you ever wanted a quality greenhouse built in less than a week, then Herb Shack is your answer. This is not one of those cheap greenhouses that you find in your neighbor's yard after a windstorm or collapses when the snow falls. The Herb Shack produces quality greenhouse options that look cool and are guaranteed for 20 years. It's time to plan winter's harvest right now. The Herb Shack can have a greenhouse, large or small, installed before Halloween. For more information about an Herb Shack greenhouse, contact Gabe at 801-472-0428. That's 801-472-0428. The Herb Shack produces quality greenhouse options and are guaranteed for 20 years. Contact Gabe at 801-472-0428. 801-472-0428. That's 801-472-0428.
Are you among the millions of Americans who feel uncertain when it comes to their health care? We are happy to inform you that there is a solution, and that solution is Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of like-minded people who work together to pay for their medical costs. You choose your doctor and hospital, starting at $107 a month for a single, up to $449 a month for a family. That's mom, dad, and all the kids. For more information, call 855-585-4237 or visit libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.